Hello, my name is Rachel Wise. I'm a part-time dance lecturer at Morley College. This penny lecture is on laughter, an introduction into ways in which we can incorporate laughter into our lives, work, and art. Start by closing your eyes and notice how your body feels right now, in this moment, wherever you're listening or watching. Notice how you're feeling, where your breath is sitting in your body. Take a moment to reflect on the last time you might have smiled or laughed. It sounds such a small thing, but it's something that we sometimes don't really take notice of. And then when you open your eyes, just take a moment to reflect on how your breath might have changed since you found that stillness. Laughter is a physiological thing. It changes our bodies and it creates new neural pathways as we're encountering it, based on the way in which we hold emotion and remember things. If you can, find a stick, a chopstick is what I've got, or a pencil or a pen. Hopefully it's something that's clean. And just for a moment, we're going to, for 10 seconds, place this pen, chopstick, whatever it might be, in your mouth and engaging a smile. So we're engaging the muscles in the mouth all the way up to a nice big wide smile. Okay, so get your chopstick and holding that for 10 seconds. If you've got someone in the room with you, do it with them and smile and look at them for 10 seconds. Okay, you ready? So you might notice that your cheeks are hurting slightly. Your jawline is feeling like it's being engaged. And if, like me, you might have had a little moment of embarrassment and thought, okay, why am I holding the chopstick in my mouth? But you've also noticed that your facial muscles have altered from just the exercise. This exercise is known as the Duchenne Smile, and it engages muscles which allows us to think of those pathways which we would encounter in laughter. Close your eyes for a moment and just, again, hold that Duchenne Smile, just engaging those teeth, engaging the facial muscles, thinking about the way in which you're feeling the smile move all the way up the eyes. Engaging and being aware of where your breath is sitting as you're doing this. And then opening your eyes again. Some people might not feel the difference from the first moment we did this to the second moment we did it after smiling. Some of you might have noticed that you started laughing and you can't quite work out why. Laughter is something that we use in social situations. We use it to feel comfortable with each other and with other people. We use it to feel socially accepted in a group. What happens when we laugh? When we breathe, our intercostal muscles expand and contract. As we're speaking, our ribcage squeezes out the air in both regular and irregular patterns. As opposed to when we're laughing, often these patterns are irregular. You'll notice that when you're speaking to somebody, sometimes maybe your accent will change to suit that person, or you might realize that you're picking up a certain rhythm of speech that you have only with those people. We speak differently when we speak to our friends as ways we would speak to maybe a colleague or somebody in a school or social situation. When we laugh, oxytocin is released, which is the hormone feeling of cuddling. And it's released, which enables us to feel acceptance. Newton says that we're social animals and we thrive off feeling accepted by a group or a community. Laughter releases endorphins, and it decreases our pain threshold. Yet it's strange that this is something that's rarely really considered and understood why we're actually doing it. Dr. S.Scott has done quite a lot of studies on laughter, She also happens to be really interested in what it's like to be a stand-up comedian and a scientist. One of her most recent studies explored 1,000 people aged 8 to 60 to try and understand the differences between laughter, differentiating between social laughter, when often this is a regular breathing pattern, something that we use to fit in within a social situation or to make someone feel more comfortable. Or a type of laughter which you cannot control. It's that laughter where you're tickled or where something really gets you and you just laugh uncontrollably. And often this sound, when you listen back to it, sounds a little bit like chimpanzees laughing in the zoo. Robert Praveen in Laughter says, you're 30 times more likely to laugh if you are with someone else. We feel the need to laugh within a group and we feel socially accepted when we do this. But why do we find it so difficult to laugh alone? And how can that help us? Laughter is contagious and it's modulated by our social relationships. It's interesting that if you look at studies done on couples living together, the couples that find humour in their relationship are more likely to stay together. Likewise, when you look at friendships, those that have built their friendship based on humour and understanding build longer-lasting friendships throughout the years, even if they tend to go on different paths. In Dr. Scott's study, the neurobiology for laughter looks at both the involuntary systems and the voluntary systems. It's the tickling laughter versus the social laughter. The involuntary laughter is higher pitched, irregular, and breathy. And the voluntary laughter can often be quite regulated. This instigates different areas within the brain, and it works in different social contexts and interactions. How does this apply to art? How can we apply this to actor training, or to movement, or to drama therapy? What's happening is we're instigating different social situations. So maybe finding laughter through something such as play and going back to fun, interactive games is a way to find that irregular laughter that has all of those health benefits that really helps us. As a human grows through to adulthood, they lose the ability to actually experience the involuntary laughter as easily and find ways in which they can continually fit in to enhance their ability to mimic or to understand the need for the social laughter. This often has a lot to do with the mirror neurons within our bodies. When we experience someone's physical behavior or language, we tend to be sympathetic towards that. Our empathy allows us to understand them. If you see someone crying or small, you get a sense that there's something wrong with them. Whereas if you see them from afar and you can see them open and laughing, you feel that there's something there that you can be involved in. In one of Dr. Scott's speeches, she said that she first encountered laughter when she saw her parents laughing when she was very young. She didn't know what they were laughing about, but she joined in with them anyway. Our mirror neurons give us the instigation, the need to be a part of what's going on. So, why is voluntary laughter important? Voluntary laughter ignites our social connections. The younger you are, the more you want to join in with laughter. And the studies show that as you get older, it becomes less contagious, and laughter becomes something that you have to find as an interaction. It's kind of ironic because as you get older, the more a human needs laughter. As you get older, the more we need social interactions. So that led me to look at the cultural differences between here and other countries. It made me question, why do we not feel the need to invoke laughter within our culture here in the UK, as opposed to other cultures which really encourage group social interactions and laughter all the way through to older age. The study that was done on positive emotions, speed and recovery from cardiovascular, the sequel of negative emotions in Cognition and Emotion by Taylor Francis, done by Fredrickson and Levinson, was research that found couples that were managing with stress. They were put under situations where the husband would say to the wife things that was bothering him about their relationship. They discovered that couples that were able to find humour within this interaction felt more comfortable and were able to deal with the stress. It made me consider how this works in a work situation. How can we bring laughter within our workplace? And something that might be a very stressful situation, such as a presentation that went wrong, or a mistake or a failure that you might have found at work, how can we allow laughter to transport us into a social scenario where we feel less awkward about it? We don't hold the trauma and we're able to release it. What happens to us physiologically when we actually laugh? What muscles are engaging? I found through doing a lot of laughter research that often the psoas muscle, which is the muscle that holds most of the emotion within the body, can be released through laughter and play. This is why when you go into a laughter workshop, for example, a lot of people will come out crying. A lot of people will say they had a realization or they felt that they were managing through trauma. And a lot of people who experience that suddenly feel this sense of release and euphoria after laughing. That's because those muscles that are holding the trauma release. So it's interesting that if we continue to practice this throughout our lives, then there's a possibility that maybe we can continue to find ways and coping mechanisms with stress. So what are examples of laughter in other cultures, and how can we incorporate those within our own cultures and society? In China, in most of the work settings, people would meet early in the morning, 7 a.m. A whole company would come together and they would have a group meeting. Often, in this group meeting, they would have a moment of a speech of motivation. Everyone will pledge their allegiance to the company. But what's most interesting is they will also find a moment where they laugh together. This isn't usually planned. It just seems to be a mechanism that a lot of companies and organizations found worked. When you look at something such as Steve Jobs' talks, or when you look at Google's talks, you will notice that they often begin with a joke or something that brings the company and the community together. A brilliant wedding speech always starts with a joke about the bride or the groom. So how can we take these things that other cultures are doing and implement them within our own? In Hong Kong, elderly people gather together on the streets early morning and evenings. They laugh together and they do group ritual exercise as one. There's music blasting out, and from afar it kind of feels like you're encountering some crazy 90s music video. Everyone's wearing the headbands and the leg warmers. Maybe I'm exaggerating a little. But they're laughing. And they have a better quality of life. People within smaller minorities or communities in which they might be ostracized come together. People without family members and without contact feel a connection through laughter. In India, where laughter yoga first was originated, this started when people would come together in the parks or the beaches. India has been known for years and years and years for its rich history and culture associated with the benefits of yoga and laughter. This wasn't something that was new or just came about. So even though you hear that the Laughter Association has been going for over 25 years, that doesn't mean that it's just been found. This is something people have been practicing for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years. And it's in most of the recent and older scriptures. When you look at yoga, you understand that breathing, the pranayama, is something that's integral to our belonging and being. And it's more recently that studies have proved the benefits of meditation, especially within the workplace and within school and home. Many schools have been adopting meditation as techniques for exam stress. And it's interesting yet that there's a certain discipline involved in it, which doesn't allow playfulness or laughter to integrate into it. I wonder what would happen if we integrated laughter and playfulness into meditation, especially when working with children or when in a school setting. Why are we bound by certain rules? Surely there's this joy in letting out and letting go of these rules. And as a result, there's a certain sense of acceptance and being able to deal with failure from it. And finally, in Europe over the last 25 years has adopted in many locations on large laughter yoga. Copenhagen was one area where there was thousands of people that gathered over 20 years ago for the first ever European laughing convention. Thousands of people on the streets were just gathering to laugh. What happened as a result of that? Everyone went home afterwards, but they felt great. Nobody was drinking, maybe a few people were drinking. But what's interesting is endorphins were released. People felt a connection with strangers, and they felt an association and a connection with their community. So how can laughter then also be used in our social connections in the UK? And what can we put in place and learn from these other cultures? Laughter yoga already exists in the UK, and it's been integrated in many different systems already. Laughter yoga started in the UK by Lottie Mickelson. She encountered the large gathering that I talked about earlier in Copenhagen and decided that she would bring that to her practice in the UK. Before that, she worked in tech. She now trains hundreds of people across the UK and organises the UK Laughter Association. You can hear more from Lottie on our podcast, Arts Explained, through the Morley College Morley at Home website. All in all, how can we use laughter in our everyday life? I think I'd like to leave it with the thought of how can we take the things that we've found from other countries and research and bring that to our own practices, both at home with our family and our friends, in our communities, be it in our colleges, universities, or in our workplace. And also on a personal level, how can we find ways to really encourage our own health and our own practices? How can we take things from the other cultures and countries and learn and implement that in our own practices in our world? Thank you for listening to this Penny Lecture. And for more Penny Lectures like this, please follow the link and look at the website for Morley College at Home.